Hey, welcome to Introduction to OmniStudio lecture. Under this lecture, we are going to discuss about some introductory element of OmniStudio. You can expect that after the end of the session, you will have a high level idea what OmniStudio is used for. If I talk about the agenda, first thing that we are going to discuss is the need of OmniStudio. Like what was the pain areas in traditional Salesforce development ecosystems. And later we'll see how OmniStudio actually helps and how we can actually give a definition to OmniStudio. Okay. Later part of this video, we are going to discuss the components of OmniStudio, which is like OmniScript integration procedures, FlexCards, and we'll see how these components actually are used and what are their responsibilities. Okay, so let's start. So we are starting this with the help of a statement. Okay, just try to understand that we have two people here, this person and this person, where this person is from client side and this is a developer. Okay, the client side person is saying we need to fast forward the Salesforce development, its UI and its integration projects. So basically this is a client side or business person who is giving a requirement to its team, and he's just asking that can we fast forward our development, because the customer side, from customer side, he is having some pressure to release Salesforce development more faster way. Okay, so let's see how this architect or lead developer in Salesforce ecosystem is replying. He's saying that building a UI, integrating multiple systems and managing complex business logics take a lot of time in Salesforce, right? If you are belonging from Salesforce development community, or if you have worked on any development community, then you may probably relate creating a UI and then integrating that system with multiple different systems and adding complex logics takes time, right? It's not something that you can do it very easily. It has its own way of developing plus doing the testing as well, right? So the thing is, the entire ecosystem from scratch to build and then make it function, it actually took so much time, right? So that's the same thing that this architect is trying to set an expectation on. He's saying that we need to write codes and spend time to fix the UI related issues. So that's why the development in Salesforce ecosystem is slightly slow, right? Now let's move to the next one. Now, considering this thing, now you can relate the pain areas of our traditional Salesforce development. What is the pain area? The first pain area is it is heavily customizable code. That means if you're not happy with what built-in Salesforce features are offering, then you have to do so much code on it, right? And when I say the code, there are multiple things that you need to code. For example, if you have a page, okay, let's say this is your Salesforce page that you are expecting, and there is a some detailed thing. Okay, there has its own UI. So to generate this UI, you need to rely on LWC code. Okay, yes, for UI also you need to write a code. Plus to make it function, like for example, you have created a button to create a contact, for example, let's say, and you have added this button into the UI, but once user click on it, this button should act something, right? It should create a contact in the backend. So you need to add the brain as well into the script, right? So to add a brain, you need to do some additional work on Apex side and LWC side both. So the thing that I wanted to say here, if you're not happy with what built-in Salesforce offers, you need to do the customization, and customization comes its own cost. Okay, what is the cost? The team that you actually allocate for this work plus the time that you allocate for the team to work, right? So this comes as a huge costing for a end user or for a business. So this is the first pain area, that heavy customization is required for a simple tasks. Okay. Second is it's a slow time to market thing. What is time to market? Let's try to understand that. See, there are many industries where the requirement and the market tradition is changing very rapidly. Let's try to understand this with the help of some, let's say, communication industry, where we have telecommunications, right? Today world is using 5G, and in 5G also, if you go into the technicality, there are multiple different bands, right? And those emerging technologies are changing itself on a daily manner. So if your customer actually works on such type of domain, then for you as a developer or a tech lead, it is very difficult for you to quickly, complete the development cycle and deploy the code to production, because it, like I said, heavy customization plus the development of traditional Salesforce ecosystem took time. So it is making the entire process slow. The next thing is, or the next pain point is complex integrations. That means if your data is in Salesforce, you need data from some other systems, right? Maybe some AWS systems, or there's a big data where you need to pull the data, right? So for that also you need to write custom APIs to fetch the information and then represent it. So that is also a heavy customization or development required here. The next is hard to scale and maintain. Yes, let's say you build something, it goes to production, everyone is happy, but then the requirement is changed or it is enhanced. You need to put some more things into your element, right? So that also comes with same cost. It means the scalability and maintenance is also costly there, and it is poor end user experience. Why I write this point in the user experience? Because things are not in same place. You have to write LWC, you have to go for Apex, maybe you need to write some complex flows, there are other configuration tweaking you need to do to make it work, right? So the end user experience is actually compromised, right? And if something which is possible through built-in features, if let's say that is not something which your business is okay, then for them also, for that also you need to write code. So that is actually end of the day compromising your user experience. Okay, so let's summarize what I try to explain here. And again, if you don't get it 100%, that is okay. We are going to discuss in detail in upcoming videos. I just give you a high level idea as of now. So the thing is, the pain area of traditional Salesforce development is its cost. The cost is on the time that is going to take for the development and the resources that you actually allocate. That is also costly. So those are the two pain areas of traditional Salesforce development. Okay. Now let's see how Salesforce OmniStudio is actually going to help and make our process easier. Okay. So let's also explain this with the help of an example. So let's say she is a business owner, okay, and tech architect from a different project, okay, and the business owner is saying, I wish if we have some tool that can do coding for us. Okay, so she's expecting that is there any tool which can do coding for us so that we can save our time on writing Apex classes, LWCs, and other complex functionalities like flows and all, right? So basically, this business owner is expecting that is there any tool which we can actually utilize in our project which can bypass all those complex logics and do everything by its own. So she's discussing this in an open forum or in a bigger forum where other architects are present for her company, right? Now, the solution that this architect is doing, she's asking for a tool. So he suggested that why don't you use an OmniStudio? That means OmniStudio is one kind of a tool that can use to drag, drop, and create UI to handle complex logics, system integrations, and many more other things as well. And this actually doesn't require to write any single line of code. Okay, so the answer of our pain areas that we have discussed into the previous slide is we can use OmniStudio to bypass all those complexities. Okay, so let's see how OmniStudio is going to help us and what actually it is. Okay, so let's try to understand this with the help of its definition, which is written here. OmniStudio is a low-code digital engagement toolkit from Salesforce. So basically, it's a low-code digital engagement toolkit. That means it is a kind of a tool which you can use on top of your Salesforce. Okay. Originally, this is designed by Vlocity. Okay. So before we go and discuss more detail about OmniStudio, let's try to understand what this Vlocity is. See, back in 2018 and 19, there was a company called Vlocity. Okay. So there's a group of people who actually identify these pain areas and they start working on it. So what they done, they created a managed package. Okay, managed package MP. Well, if you do not know what is managed package, you can consider that in our phone we have Google Play Stores and Apple Store, right? We go and download applications and then start using it. Similarly, in Salesforce ecosystem, we have something called managed package where we can go and install those packages directly in Salesforce and start using it. The coding and everything will be handled by these managed packages. Okay. So those Velocity people, what they have done, they created this managed package and then they created a UI, basically a good UI, which allow drag and drop tools. So for example, if I need to build a application where I need to add some buttons, some screens, some images. So all I need to do is I need to install their managed package Velocity and go there and then take elements. For example, I'll take one page element and drag it here. And based on that, I will do the configuration. I can name it and put some details and then save it. The moment I say this HTML, the coding and everything will be handled by this Velocity package. And all I need to do is I need to just analyze it and drag drop and then save. That's it. Okay. And that was a game changer because that is what every industry is looking for, right? They are looking for a tool which can do coding for them, right? And plus they also want that tool to be flexible enough to adjust in their unique structure. So that also Velocity taken care. Okay, now since it is very demanding, so what Salesforce done is Salesforce acquired the entire company and further enhanced it. Okay, so now I think you get an idea what Velocity is and how it actually works. Now that's why in most of the places you will see OmniStudio and Velocity written together. Okay, currently we cannot go and directly use Velocity because now it is acquired by Salesforce and Salesforce is rebranded it and now we are calling it Industry Cloud. Now we understood what is the use of OmniStudio, right? Now let's try to understand how OmniStudio actually works. So to understand how it works, we need to understand its components that are used inside OmniStudio. So it has total four major components. The first component is OmniScript. The second component is integration procedure. Sometimes we call it IP. The third one is FlexCards. And the fourth one, which is actually optional, which is called Velocity Model Objects VMOs. Okay, let's try to understand that with the help of again an example. So here, let's take the same example. We have an application, okay, where there is a work which is required on UI side. If this is the same application we wanted to implement in OmniStudio, then we have two options. We can create that UI using OmniScript or FlexCards. Now, if I talk about OmniScript we generally use when we need to guide our user to follow a step-by-step process. For example, you have created a UI where you need to ask your user to create a record. Okay, for example, the first thing that it needs to do, it needs to put first name, last name, email, and phone. And then there will be a next button. Once the user fill all those four fields, they need to click on next button. After that, there is another page will open. And at that time, it will ask some other related information. For example, where they work, what is their work email, what is their work phone number, like that, right? So we need to send the user from one guided path. That means once this is complete, then go there. And once this is complete, then maybe show some other screen. So if this is the requirement, we will go and configure that UI using OmniScript. But if we have a requirement where we need to, represent some rich UI where let's say we have this page where we need to show users logo and there is maybe some charts we need to show, all those rich UI things we can handle using FlexCards. Okay, we have detailed session on OmniScript and FlexCards. In fact, we have an entire section itself where we will go and discuss how they actually works. But I just wanted to at this time try to tell you that what are the components that we generally use for OmniStudio. Okay, so I hope this OmniScripts and FlexCard is clear. Now moving to the next one, which is your integration procedure. Now let's again take an example. Let's say we have created that same window where we are asking user to put first name, last name, email, and phone, and then there is a next button, right? Maybe what actually we want to run when user click on this next button, right? We need to write some logic behind that, right? Maybe we wanted to commit some database, right? Maybe we wanted to send this information to external system, right? Or maybe we wanted to call some other automation process in Salesforce. So, I mean, what function we wanted to execute on a click of this next button, that will be controlled through integration procedure. Okay, but some of the time, this next function is also controlled under OmniScript. Okay, basically OmniScript is not just to show the UI, but it also have a certain control on what you wanted to do with that UI. Okay, that means what will happen if you click on next button, what will happen if user do not put any required field, but at a certain limitations. Okay, OmniScript is capable to do that, but it has some limitations. Those limitations will be fulfilled by integration procedures. Okay, so let's try to summarize what is OmniStudio. It is kind of a toolkit which help us, when I say us, means developers, to build something faster with low code solution. Okay, let's say if you have a very critical requirement, you can do it with the help of OmniStudio. And OmniStudio is a package of these four major pillars: OmniScripts, integration procedure, FlexCards, and VOM. That means Velocity Model Objects. where the UI part will be taken care by these two boys, and then the back end will be taken care by this person. Okay, and this VMO has its own responsibilities to follow, which we will discuss, like I said, in later part of this video. Now, since you have idea what OmniStudio does, now let's try to understand what is the advantage of using OmniStudio or Salesforce Industry Cloud. So the first advantage is it is a pre-built industry object model. That means you just need to use it. You do not need to create any object and relationship. You do not need to create any kind of setup. You just start using it by dragging and dropping your component. So it is kind of a very handy thing. You do not need to take care about object creations and all those things. That will be pre-done. Next advantage is it is faster time to value. That means it will speed up your process. The third advantage is it doesn't require a high in development. That means you do not need to spend on a highly skilled LWC developer. I mean, it required coding, but it is a low code solution. The fourth advantage is scalable architecture. That means it is running on a top of Salesforce. Okay, whatever Salesforce limitations are there, they will be enforced here as well. But like I said, it is the coding and everything will be done by Vlocity package or industry cloud package. So you do not need to take care about the best practices. That will be automatically taken care. Next, the fifth advantage is better customer experience. Why? Because here you do not need to juggle between different native versus custom components. Here this is the single component and you can control the styling, which will give you a better UI. And the sixth one is regulatory compliances. Here, since it is running on the top of Salesforce, so it follow and respect all the GDPR and other compliance related certificates as well. Okay, so those are six pillars, or I can say six advantage of using industry cloud. Now, before we conclude our session, let's have a look on what are the core capabilities of OmniStudio. Okay, we'll start with OmniScript. So the first thing that OmniScript can do, it can create a guided flow. We have just discussed this in one of the example where we have two screens. We want our user to fill this form and click on next button, and then it reaches to this form and then it needs to fill this as well. So there is a sequence or guided path where we want our user to follow. So if this is the requirement, OmniScript is better solution here compared to your traditional development. Now, the second best thing that we can do with OmniScript is you can connect multiple systems. When I say connect multiple systems, you can exchange information based on the clicks, right from one system to the other system. You can do that. You can do that using built-in feature of OmniScript, which is DataRaptor, or you can take help from your integration procedure as well. Okay. Now, the third thing we can do is we can validate the input given by user. So same example, let's say we have a form where we want user to put first name, last name, email address, and phone number. So we can validate the input. That means we can validate if user are putting the correct format in email address, they are putting correct format in phone number. So those basic validation can be easily done using OmniScript. Fourth one is reusability. That means, let's say you have already created a OmniScript, which is maybe creating contact, and you wanted to use it in some other places, so you can reuse it. So just like a normal Salesforce LWC component, if you want to reuse, the same thing here also you can do. You can just reuse your OmniScript and use it in multiple different places. Plus, you can also control versions as well. Well, if you do not know what are the versions, what are the reusability, bear with me. We are going to have a detailed session where we will go and discuss this point as well. But as of now, you can understand it can be used, a single script can be used multiple places. Okay. And what changed, how changed, that level of control also we have. Okay. Now, the fifth point is save and submit button, which we have discussed. That means you can commit the record as well to back to Salesforce. And the last thing, that major thing that we can do with OmniScript is we can write some conditions as well. For example, if we have, let's say, three screens, okay, screen one, screen two, screen three. Let's say here in email address, if users are putting email which ends with, let's say, abc.com, We do not want user to see that screen number 2. We directly want them to see screen number 3. So this type of configuration we can easily handle using logical conditions. So those type of things we have a certain control which we can do with the help of OmniScript. Well, there are many more things also which we can do, but those are just highlighted point I wanted to discuss at this moment, right? I hope the things are clear. Now let's move to the next and let's try to understand what your integration procedures can do. Like its name says, it can make a call out. It can make a API call to the external system to get the information and show it in your UI. It can also do some logical things. That means based on a click, you wanted to write your custom logic, maybe call your Apex class. So those things it can easily handle. It can also, transform the data. What does that mean? Let's say you have a system, maybe AWS system, okay, and here is a Salesforce system. You want some information from AWS, maybe some account related information from AWS, and you wanted to store it in your Salesforce. In your Salesforce, you call it account, but in AWS, you do not call it account. Maybe you call it company, right? Every platform has its nomenclature, right? So since AWS is sending you company related information and you want to convert that name company to account, so this type of things you can do under data transformation using integration procedure. Okay. Next is high performance. That means if you have some complex operations which require multiple server calls, there are many best practices that we can follow under integration procedure to increase our performance. Okay, if you use traditional way, you have to spend so much time in your Apex to optimize your code so that it will give you best performance, but these things are built in inside integration procedure, so you can directly use it. The next is lightweight output. That means you have a certain control what output you wanted to see under your integration procedures. Traditional approach, let's say your Apex class, we have to write many customized codes to handle this. For example, if we want a specific output, we have to write wrapper classes. Maybe you are not aware what wrapper classes are. Wrapper classes are like the classes or functionality basically which give you a specific kind of output. So those things are built in inside integration procedure. You can tune it as per your requirement. High performance we have already discussed. Then chain data raptors and IP addresses. That means you can call another IP addresses from another from the same IP addresses. You can chain it also. Like based on the requirement, you can conditionally view and rerun it. Okay, so those are a couple of highlighted points that I wanted to discuss. But believe me, integration procedures are a wide topic, and covering this into this initial introductory lecture, it's not possible. So I just highlighted a couple of points so that you have an idea what type of work we can do using integration procedure. Okay, let's move to the next one. Next one is FlexCards. FlexCards are very useful if you wanted to see a rich UI. You wanted to see your company logo or user information, some sort of graphs, some sort of actions which a graph is clicked. So basically a rich UI. If this is the requirement, you can go and configure using FlexCards. It is very good in terms of UI optimization. Okay. Now let's move to the next one. Now let's discuss the last topic of our video, which is your velocity model object, sometimes called CME as well, where C stands for communication, M for media, and E for energy. Let's try to understand this with the help of example. Let's take Salesforce example. In Salesforce, we have Sales Cloud, right? Service Cloud, Experience Cloud, multiple different clouds we have. What actually the use of this, let's say if I'm a user or I'm a business who required sales related applications. So what I'll do is I'll go and acquire Sales Cloud, and then I will use my account, contact, and multiple objects. Similarly, if I need Service Cloud, I will go and configure Service Cloud, and then I will start using their case, knowledge articles, and multiple objects. Similarly, your Experience Cloud as well. That means these clouds are nothing but the industries that maybe I'm also using, and maybe some other companies which is going to use sales, they can also use the similar thing. That means Salesforce has created those objects which can be used for multiple different companies under the same domain, right? Now, what is the advantage? The advantage is as a developer, I do not need to go and create a custom object for account. Similarly, I don't need to create a custom object for content because those are already part of the Sales Cloud. Getting it? So if I'm a developer who's, let's say, working on a company A, and this company A is using Sales Cloud, where I'm going to use account and contact object, and you are also a developer. You are working for a company B. This company is also using account and contact. So you and me, neither of us needs to create any object because it is already part of these service clouds, right? Similarly, there are many more clouds as well, which Salesforce is not by default enabled. Okay. For example, this communication domain. Communication, there are many companies, right, which is working on communication. Similarly, energy, there are many companies who are using Salesforce for energy related applications. Media, right? There are multiple different clouds. So for all those clouds, what Velocity does, it created those objects, plus it also created your pages where you can configure those objects. Okay, and call it industry. So wherever you read this word industry cloud, that means on top of Velocity, on top of your OmniScript, your this DataRaptors, integration procedures, and all other things, they have also created some specific objects for those industries. And now you, if let's say you wanted to configure your Salesforce for communication domain, then you will get all those things like whatever we have discussed till now, plus communication. If you wanted to configure this for a media, then you will get all those things like OmniScript, DataRaptor, integration procedures, FlexCards, plus media. Okay, so you can configure industries based on your requirement, but you will always get this DataRaptors, OmniScript, integration procedures, and basic configurations of your Velocity or OmniStudio. So if I conclude, your Velocity model objects or your industry specific objects, what are those? Those are created on top of your OmniStudio. In your OmniStudio, we have OmniScript, right? Second thing is we have DataRaptors. Third is we have integration procedures. Fourth is we have FlexCards and many more things, right? So this is one package. Plus, based on your industry specific need, you can use all of them plus communication, plus media, or plus energy. Those things will be configured by Velocity or OmniScript directly to your org based on your requirement. And how you will create all those orgs, we are going to discuss under the next lecture. But things are clear here, right? Okay. Now I think you get a good idea what is OmniStudio, what are its components, what is your industry specific things, and you are able to answer such type of questions. After the end of this video, I will upload some interview questions related to the same. You can find that into the resource section. In the next video, we are going to discuss how we can create these industry specific orgs and how we can start using it. Okay, so stay tuned. Thank you.